You know, it was on June 9th, 1954, during the 30th day of the so-called Army McCarthy hearings, when Republican Senator Joseph McCarthy was investigating the U.S. Army for so-called communist activities. And Joseph Welch, the head lawyer for the U.S. Army at that time, had had enough of Joe McCarthy's baseless accusations, his endless witch hunts, and his hyperbolic and partisan rhetoric, and called him out in front of Congress and in front of the American people.
May I say that Mr. Welch talks about this being cruel and reckless. He was just baiting. He has been baiting.
Senator, may we not drop this? Let us not assassinate this lad further, Senator. You've done enough. Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency?
But Welch wasn't the only one to offer insight to the American people about who Joe McCarthy really was and what he was really up to. The media, particularly Edward R. Murrow, used Welch's comment to out the senator's dirty and shameful tactics.
No one familiar with the history of his country can deny that congressional committees are useful. It is necessary to investigate before legislating. But the line between investigating and persecuting is a very fine one, and the junior senator from Wisconsin has stepped over it repeatedly.
Edward R. Murrow was one of the most respected and influential names in the entire world of journalism. His integrity, his willingness to call out McCarthy's grandstanding have earned him a place of great honor in the history of journalism. Back in the 50s, our media were required by law and FCC regulations to perform the public service of giving us real news. And as a result, journalists could tell the truth and not just rehash the talking points handed out by the higher-ups in the morning meeting or handed down from the party bosses. The media was able to call out lawmakers like McCarthy, who had clearly overstepped his bounds and wasted countless tax dollars and man-hours on personal vendettas and never-ending conspiracy witch hunts. So, let's fast forward to today. Last Wednesday, Attorney General Eric Holder was testifying before the House Judiciary Committee about all the various so-called scandals that have plagued Washington in the last couple of weeks. On that committee, chairman of that committee, is Congressman Darrell Issa, Republican from California, who has made it his mission in life to blame everything wrong in Washington on the Obama administration and is now leading several McCarthy-esque hearings and witch hunts. And he's been exceptionally hard on Attorney General Holder and hasn't been shy about slamming the Attorney General at every chance possible. During Wednesday's hearing, all the friction between Holder and Issa came to a head when Eric Holder accurately described Issa's conduct while in Washington. This exchange came when Issa was attacking President Obama's Labor Secretary nominee, Tom Perez at his time, and his time at the Department of Justice. And Darrell Issa, was harassing Attorney General Holder about emails that Issa had requested in relation to Perez.
Will you make them available to the committee based on our bipartisan request?
I will certainly look at the request. It's not something that I have personally been involved in, but I'll look at the request and try to be as responsive as we can. I'm sure there must have been a good reason why only the to and from parts were prepared.
Yes, you didn't want us to see the details. Mr. Attorney General, knowing the to and from,
typically do.
Knowing the to and
I'm not going to stop talking now. Characterize something as something that goes to
Mr. Chairman, would you inform the witness as to the rules of this committee?
That is inappropriate and is too consistent with the way in which you conduct yourself as a member of Congress. It's unacceptable and it's shameful.
The Attorney General of the United States called a congressman's actions inappropriate, shameful, and unacceptable conduct for a member of Congress. You know, at any other time in the history of our country, that moment, that remarkable exchange would have ended Congressman Darrell Issa's career. But it won't. That's because the corporate-controlled media today has barely made a mention of it. Attorney General Holder's comments should have triggered a media firestorm over Congressman Issa and his time in Washington, but they haven't. They should have been the front page headline in the New York Times, but they weren't. They should have led the evening TV newscast. Instead, they were largely ignored. And this isn't the first time Issa's gotten a free pass. This modern-day Joe McCarthy has continually flown under the radar of the mainstream corporate-controlled media. If there was any journalistic integrity left in the so-called mainstream media, Congressman Issa would have been forced out of Washington long ago. May have never made it to Capitol Hill in the first place. John Perr, P-E-R-R, over at Daily Kos, has compiled Congressman Issa's Hall of Shame. It's an amazing read, over 20 items. There was the time in 2011 when Issa was leading the charge against the 9/11 responders' health care bill, which was eventually signed into law after it was unanimously passed through Congress. During his campaign to stop the bill, Issa said, it's very simple. I can't vote for additional money for New York if I can't see why it would be appropriate to do this every single time a similar situation happens, which quite frankly includes any urban terrorist. It doesn't have to be somebody from Al-Qaeda. Bottom line, basically what he was saying was, yeah, sick and dying 9/11 first responders, screw them. In fact, he said, it was simply an aircraft, residue of the aircraft, residue of the materials used to build the building. 9/11, nothing special. Neither were the first responders. No big deal. Screw the cops, the firemen, the volunteers. Let them die without a doctor. Back in 2007, Issa hit another career low. He attacked the families of the contractors who worked for Blackwater who had died in Iraq, while Blackwater was facing charges of abandoning these people, abandoning their families. Issa is defending the company instead of the workers. And then I'll play the clip for you when we come back. When Issa thought he had taken down Gray Davis in California, and then he discovered that Ken Lay had been having these secret meetings with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Gray Davis had spent $1 million of his own money to become governor of California, and he breaks down in tears. Stick around.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
Bottom line, we have a modern day Joe McCarthy. The Attorney General calls him out, and it's not news. 28 minutes past the hour. So I wrapped up the last segment by talking about how Darrell Issa, who it is alleged, burned down his warehouse in order to get the insurance money to reboot his business, which is making car alarms in Asia, that has made him the second richest member of the House of Representatives, among other things, that he's basically a modern-day Joe McCarthy. And we played the clip of Eric Holder coming on, calling what he was doing shameful. And the other part of the story people don't remember. Darrell Issa spent over $1 million of his own money. Over $1 million of his own money to take down Gray Davis when Gray Davis was the governor of California and Darrell Issa was an obscure congressman from California because he wanted to run for governor. What he didn't know is that back even before the rolling blackouts that were done by Enron in California to take down Gray Davis, before those even began, Ken Lay was having secret meetings with Arnold Schwarzenegger about, I'm going to put you in the governor's office. Just be my guy. And when Darrell Issa found out about that, the day that Arnold Schwarzenegger filed his papers, Darrell Issa literally broke down into tears. Here's the clip.
But today, the San Diego Republican was muscled out of his own dream to become governor.
And it's my desire, God Almighty. It's my...
Here he is just sobbing away, Poor Darrell. He didn't get to be governor, but now he's a big guy in Washington, D.C. He's gonna get the president impeached. Come hell or high water, he's gonna do it. Right. I just, we talk about, the damage that partisanship is inflicting on this country. I think that Darrell Issa is one of the best embodiments of that. It's really sad. And what's even sadder is that there's no Edward R. Murrow in the corporate press and the mainstream media anymore to call it out. That the mainstream media has gone so timid that when Jonathan Karl of ABC is given a literally fabricated White House email, fabricated by Republicans to make it look like Obama was trying to CYA for Hillary Clinton when in fact she had done nothing wrong. The state, there was no there. When Jonathan Karl is handed a lie-filled, reputed White House email, now we know that it's, as Jake Tapper reported, It was full of lies. It was made up by Republicans to make the president look bad. Jonathan Karl runs with it, breaks it from the Foxosphere into the mainstream media world, and now refuses to out his source. He's not telling us which Republican handed it to him. It's crazy. It's like, journalism. It's not. It's now infotainment, and an infotainment business. Oh, Jonathan Karl wants to protect his sources. His sources who lie to him? What did Tom Coburn know, and when did he know it? Because he's the guy who the day before Jonathan Karl broke this story on ABC, so-called story, he's the guy who was on Morning Joe saying, guess what, there's something coming. I know all about it. Yes, indeed, I'm Dr. No, Dr. Coburn.